Okay, guys, so this is going to be a little different than usual. I'm sure you can tell. The home renovations we're having done right now, today the electricians just kind of shut off the power on and off a few times, and it fried some of our internet equipment, so no internet. So I got to do this completely from my iPhone. If you guys know what AT&T internet is like, and you know what their customer service is like more specifically, they said, oh sure, we'll send you replacement parts ASAP. Should be there in 3 to 5 business days. So this should be an adventure. Hey, what's up, bookworms? So we are back with another weekly update. Again, I don't know how this is going to go, so bear with me, guys. I figured this was more than nothing, so here we go. Let's kick off the week like usual. Talk about what am I reading. I did finish The Son of the Black Sword by Mr. Larry Correia, guys. I like this a lot. I'm really having a lot of success with new series this year, and that's causing a problem because I realized I've started like 3-book ones when I said I don't want to do that anymore. But with this, guys, so many things that I liked. I feel like if you could actually write a thriller as a fantasy story, I feel like Larry Correia has pulled it off here. He doesn't feel the need to tell you the history of every blade of grass, every tertiary character's like complete family tree, but it never feels like this world is small. It feels like he's doing it in a way with a little bit of dialogue and exposition between the characters to build the world out and tell you about the myths and the lore and the history. But I'm getting a lot of good. Now, it has a ton of unique things on its own. Don't misunderstand me when I say this, but I got a lot of things from some series I like. I got a lot of Stormlight Archive in here because, you do deal with like magical swords. You do deal with some magic. You deal with a lot of these flashbacks where you get the flashbacks happening different stages in these guys' lives, and I'll explain to you what's going on in the regular days. It's done very, very well and perfectly timed because, he completely surprised me multiple times with it in this book. And I say I don't like it when that's kind of used as a Deus Ex Machina to get our character out of any problem that they were going to have. I feel like he does it just perfectly here. I feel like there's a lot of Witcher in that there is like this order of superpowered kind of beings, and the public's kind of scared of them, that kind of thing. Not as much with everything else, but just kind of like the superpowered, and you've got this religious order basically that's it's kind of like the protectors over people, but can be kind of scary after a while. And then a lot of Deadhouse Gates, Malazan, that one. For me, it's like you're dealing with this rebellion off in another section of land. It's really got some real Deadhouse Gates vibes off of it in that regard. But again, I say I get those little feelings in here, but it never feels like this is an unoriginal book or it's derivative of other things. I'm just saying it has things from those 3 series that I like a lot, and they are kind of in this series here. So I'm anxious to continue with this one. Actually spoke with Larry briefly, and he says he is writing book 5 right now. It should be out by the end of this year. So I won't be doing one per month like I plan to do with War for the Rose Throne, but I feel like maybe one every 2-3 months, so that way we don't have to wait long and I can read book 5 on release day. That is kind of my goal. So we'll kind of go according with that, but I will be continuing with this without a doubt. And guys, if you've been waiting, I say pick it up if you want some fresh fantasy that's not going to take you a long time. It's like just over 400 pages, and like I said, incredibly fast paced. To me, it felt almost like if Blake Crouch was writing a fantasy book because it's just so fast paced, but it also has a lot of those things that I feel like fantasy fans are going to love, like the action, top notch, man. He writes sword fights really freaking good, so I mean this guy came up, I guess, as an action writer with Monster Hunter, so I guess he's got that really just down to an art form because it was really, really good. I also finished Blackwater Volume 2, The Levy, and this is like basically just over 100 pages for each time I'm talking about it. Pretty much like the same as I said before. I said I am kind of calling it the Real Housewives of Perdido County because it is very much about these characters' lives. And then you've got, Mary Love kind of fighting with all the other wives in the area, where she is very much kind of in control. That new blood coming up, you're a little intimidated by it, but Mary Love, she's not scared of anything. And the thing about this I really am enjoying is that you will at times forget you're reading a horror story because it is classified as horror, but there's very, very minimal amounts of it. But when it happens, wow! And I'll say Michael McDowell, not scared. He doesn't care what your situation is. He doesn't care what your limitations are. He doesn't care about your age, your gender. It don't matter. Anything's on the table, and there was a horrific scene towards the end of Volume 2 that was like, yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I feel that dread already creeping in as we are at the 1/3 mark of that story, but I'm excited to continue with that. Slowly 1 month, doing it kind of like that Green Mile style, once per month here. I think that's a really, really great way to read this, but I'm all in I want to know what's going on with the Kasky family, because there's a lot of skeletons in these closets, and I feel like they're going to come out slowly, and I'm definitely here for it. So that's one I think that, even if you aren't necessarily into horror, but you might be like Southern Gothic, I think that might be your thing. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Like I said, it very much to me feels very Robert McCammon with a little bit of a horror twist into it. I think if you are into those two things, I think you'll love Blackwater quite a bit. I can see how it was very influential on a lot of authors out there. What am I going to read? I did start Trials of Empire. I read like the first chapter. That's the final book in Empire of the Wolf by Richard Swan. So I'm glad that I'm able to start that now. It's one of those things that he sent me the arc, but I'd already scheduled everything out for the month, and I just didn't have room to start it actually early. So I'm actually starting it like a couple days after it released to everyone else, so I can read it at the same time as you guys. And I'll be continuing with Shogun Part 3 here relatively soon. Might do those both kind of concurrently at the same time. It's kind of whatever I am feeling. But I'm anxious to see how Richard does wrap up his series. I thought book 1 was just superb. Book 2 had a couple things I didn't like, but overall still really good. And I'm anxious to see how Richard sticks the landing here. People I know that have already read the advanced reader copy have said that they like quite a bit how he's really leaning into the horror. And I'm all for that. Horror fantasy is like a genre I didn't know I needed until like the last couple years. Now I'm all about it. So if Richard can really just lean into that strong and unabashedly, I am here for it. This week on the channel, like I said, guys, home renovations have kind of given me tight recording windows because, there's really not much you can do while they're doing that. It's very loud a lot of the time. And it seems like every time you come in here to do something like this, they need you for something, to ask you something. So it's a very tight recording windows, as well as, still trying to make sure I'm being a dad and things like that. So I did what I could when I could, and I did actually do a couple videos this week. Wrapped up January, talked about my book of the month. I always enjoy wrap-ups because it really gives you a nice snapshot of how things are looking for the month. What was most popular with your audience and things like that. And then talking about everything that I read and going over my book of the month. And I made the choice with this one for book of the month. And I did release like that clip of just what my book of the month was. I think that's something I'll do going forward. I'll release the wrap up, and then a few days later I'll isolate the video of just the book of the month because people do want to know. And that was Shogun, and people are like, how can you put Shogun as your book of the month when you didn't finish the book? It's one of those things where I said I didn't want to count on saying, okay, well, no matter what I read in March, it's not going to count because Shogun is going to be the book of the month for March when I finish. So I said, I'll count Shogun now, because I know that's going to be a book of the year candidate. I'll count it now, and I will make it ineligible for February and March. That's kind of how I'll do it going forward. But yeah, Shogun, amazing book. I can't wait to continue with it here pretty soon, and I can't wait for that FX adaptation. The reviews came out, and they're like glowing about it. I can't wait. But yeah, that's really what I did as far as that, and why I released that small clip there. Unpopular opinion. I haven't done one of these in a while. I kind of did an unpopular opinion for Name of the Wind, gosh, like 4+ years ago, when it was just like kind of an off-the-fly thing. I didn't really plan to do it. Just had a few minutes and said, why don't I do this before the kids get home from school? And it kind of took off like a rocket. It was one of those things where I said, I like to focus on the positive on this channel, so I don't like to really get negative. So I've done 2 of those. I'd done Name of the Wind. I'd done some classics that I didn't love. And so I kind of retired that. And then recently I just said, there's so many books out there that my fellow booktubers just absolutely adore. And when I get to it, I'm just like, I thought it was fine. I don't know if it changed my life or anything like a lot of other booktubers tend to do with certain books. And I just kind of talk about that. A lot of the pushback I get is like, I can't believe you didn't have this series, this series, this series. I'm like, those are divisive series. Like, guys, I am just talking about series I didn't really care for as much as everyone else. I'm talking about specifically books that booktubers put up on a pedestal as some of the greatest things they've ever read, and that they didn't really click for me. So that's kind of what I was focusing on. A lot of the comments are about like this book or that book, and I'm like, those are very divisive books. Those aren't books that are unanimous, universal acclaim from booktubers. So maybe that was my fault for not explaining the assignment better, but that's kind of what I was focused on there. And again, I didn't dislike any of those books, and I say numerous times in that video, I think all these are talented authors. I think that I never want people to take my word as gospel. If you want to check out these books, I do encourage you to do so. That's why it's called an unpopular opinion, and that you're going to go, most likely you're going to go with the field, and you're going to go with me on this small island over here. But that was always a fun thing to kind of discuss and talk about, hey, why some of those didn't work for me. Yeah, sure, I made the thumbnail look like I was going to be roasting people. That's a little bit of misdirection, guys. I don't do that. I will never, ever criticize other booktubers. Never. Never. I know way too much work, too much heart and soul goes into being a content creator for me to ever drag any other content creator. So, again, if that's what people thought I was going to do, I apologize. I feel like by now you should know that that's not really my style here. I like to be a positive community, but I do like to talk about, hey, these are some things that just didn't work for me in that series. And the why. Next week plans, or actually, you know what? I did actually do a video with Tori. I want to mention that. It wasn't on my channel, but I did a video last night with Tori over at Tori Talks. And we just kind of talked about, I do love coming of age. And I think that the hate for YAs got kind of overblown. So she wanted to talk about, not just young adult, but also coming of age, and that's a subgenre that I always say is like my favorite thing in the world. And I can't get enough of it. But I really want to kind of focus on YA in that, what is it that drives a lot of people away from YA? What YA stuff do I not like? What YA stuff do I like? And we had a really good conversation. Talked almost 2 hours over there. We might have actually, derailed a few times and kind of started talking about like some movies and things. Like I think we talked about The Outsiders because we talked about the book. And we talked about like Young Guns and things that weren't really actually books, but it kind of fit into that discussion. But Tori, great person, and I feel like her and I could have probably talked for another 2 hours easily. And really fun conversation. So if you guys haven't subscribed to Tori yet, please do so. Buy her book. Go over there, subscribe to her channel, and give her some love because she deserves it. And I want to thank Tori for inviting me on. I had a total blast. I like I said, could have kept talking all night. It was not a problem for me. So back on to next week plans, guys. We've got a couple of things. I'll do my 2024 book haul. Now, that's going to depend on when the internet gets back up because that's going to be something I don't know if I can do in this space with my... I don't know, guys. I guess I can with my phone. It just feels really, really weird doing it this way and not having it because my editing software, you have to be connected to the internet to use it. So, again, this is going to be an adventure. I think I'll get back into the multiverse. I am going to talk about that final story in 4 Past Midnight with the Sundog. I'm not able to use that intro that I made anymore because apparently the music got a copyright strike, 4 years after I used it the first time. But hey, whatever, it is what it is. I want to respect other people's property, and if it just feels like it sucks if you say something's copyright free and tell everybody you can use it on your video, then why are you going to sell that license? Because it's going to cause problems. But hey, I am never against anybody getting your checks, man. Get your money, my friend. I might do something for Trials of Empire. I don't know if I'll finish it this week, but I might get I don't know if I'll do like Trial because I reviewed Justice of Kings. I did not. I did a short review for Tyranny of Faith. So I don't know if I'll actually do a review for this. I might actually just kind of talk about the Empire of the Wolf trilogy overall. I don't know. We'll see. That's just something I'm kind of noodling around right now. But again, guys, this is just all going to depend on how this home renovation thing goes because real life's got to come first, no doubt. There are a couple of TV and movie talk things I do want to mention here before I go. The whole family sat down and we watched Wonka, the new Timothée Chalamet prequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Now, this is very much a prequel to the Gene Wilder 1970s Willy Wonka movie, not the Johnny Depp, Tim Burton one that came out in the 2000s. And thank God. Look, I love Tim Burton, but that wasn't it. And I admit, I grew up with the Gene Wilder one, so that'll always be my Willy Wonka. Movie had a lot of heart. It feels weird to say it's more of a musical than the original because in the original, I think it had like 5 songs. This probably had a dozen. It had a lot. Like my kid even was like, God, singing again? I mean, like, it is a musical, but it wasn't like to the point of like Les Mis where they were actually like singing the dialogue or nothing like that. But it was very, very heartfelt. I felt like it was nostalgic and it paid homage to the original without just blatantly being like, hey, remember that thing you love? Like every once in a while you'd hear the pure imagination, like just the melody of it. And that was really, really nice. And it did feel kind of like a love letter to Gene Wilder. It was one of those things where I kind of started feeling like, man, I wish he could have been here to see this because it felt like it was very respectful. And a lot of these things that get made these days like that, it's not very respectful to the original. So Timothée Chalamet, I've gotten so used to seeing him as Paul Atreides. It's like, oh, wow, he's actually, got some lightheartedness to him. So, great actor. That kid's got a great future ahead of him. I think his future is now. I mean, that guy has already been nominated for an Oscar, and I think he'll get nominated for one for Dune Part 2. I think his future is just amazing. It's so bright. And I think he shows a lot more range as an actor than I probably gave him credit for. And I'm excited to see where his future does go. But, I think if you like the original with Gene Wilder, I think that you'll find plenty to like here. And it really did feel like a nice hat tip to it. And I did enjoy it. My wife was tearing up at the end. There are some really, really touching moments. It is really well done, and it's good for all ages, guys. I think anyone really can enjoy it, unless you just don't like musicals, and no, I can't change that for you. But yeah, I feel like the wit and the humor is right there. Well, he's not quite as much of a sarcastic jerk as his Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka kind of was, but obviously this is dealing with him when he's, young and imaginative and carefree, and you kind of see maybe this is why he kind of gets the way that he gets with people later on in life. So I think they're probably going to try to make sequels. I mean, it's been a box office success, and I feel like they're probably going to try to make a trilogy out of this. It kind of leads up to why he became such a curmudgeon, such a recluse there at the beginning of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I think we'll see that, and I'm impressed. I was actually quite happy with it. So, again, you go with your expectations checked. I think you'll like it. But I do want to give a shout out to Hugh Grant as Oompa Loompa. He was terrific. He was really, really good. That guy's having a nice career resurgence. I really liked him in that, and he was great in Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, I hope that guy is making a nice little comeback here. He's made some mistakes in his career. Who hasn't? But good for him for sticking around and kind of slowly building his way back up. I'm excited to see it. Started watching Avatar, The Last Airbender, not the James Cameron Avatar. I already watched those. The Last Airbender. This is one, like I said, I tried watching this with my kids when it first hit Netflix. I was very excited about it. Here's the thing about my kids. They don't want to wait. They want to binge everything in 2 days. So they watched all 61 episodes in like a weekend. I was like, that's not me. I'm not like that with animation. I have to take breaks. It's just something about the medium. It doesn't hold my attention for long. So I said, I'm going to give this a real chance and start watching it before the live action show comes out, because I was like, I already feel like that live action show's got a lot of red flags. This is before the showrunner started talking, and we'll get into that when it comes out. But I was like, let me go ahead and watch this before that live action series comes out. That way I can nitpick it like all you guys, so I don't do something on here where I'm like, oh yeah, I thought the show was really great. Everyone's like, you're crazy. You're I can't remember what that happened. It happened with something where I never watched the original or read the original, and I said I thought that the show was really good, and people got really, really upset. Anyhow, yeah, I'm enjoying it for the most part. I'll say I'm way more interested. So I'm only like 4 episodes in, but I'm way more interested in the Fire Nation storyline than I am anything to do with the Avatar right now. I don't dislike anything, but I'm saying that hierarchy, that way that whole political machination is working over there with the Fire Nation, that's the stuff I'm really, really interested in. Now, I know that people grew up with the show and they love it. But here's the thing, is I hear all the time, I'm a 40-something-year-old male, and I watched it for the first time, and I loved it. I'm a 50-something-year-old female. I watched it for the first time, and I loved it. So it's like, I don't feel like this is one of those that's not bound by age or demographic at all. It feels like something that anybody can enjoy. Some people warn me, hey, it's kind of goofy at the beginning and stuff like that. I was like, I've been watching One Piece with my kid lately. This ain't goofy. This is quite grounded. It really, really is. So I'm enjoying it. I find myself chuckling a little bit. The way that Aang always wants to go play with animals or whatever kind of makes me think of my youngest son, who we go to SeaWorld and I have to like hold him by both arms so he doesn't jump in and swim with the dolphins. That's just the type that he is. So I'm finding lots of things that I'm enjoying about it, and excited to continue with that. And hopefully I can. I don't know if I'll get all 61 done before the live action show starts, but I feel like I'll get at least the stuff that they're going to cover on the show. And guys, for you guys that grew up with it, I hope that live action adaptation is really good. I really do hope for you that it's really, really awesome, because it looks incredible, but it just, every time the showrunners talk, it's just like, I don't know if you should be saying this. Gaming talk before it goes, I just want to say that, Subnautica is one of my favorite games ever. I have thalassophobia, which is fear of the ocean. And it's nothing to do with like you're afraid of getting eaten by sharks. I mean, I'm not afraid of getting eaten by sharks. But it's more of just, it's just something about open space. It just freaks you out. Like I can never be an astronaut. I actually am a total space nerd, but I can never be an astronaut. It's just, the space would just freak me out. So that game was almost like survival horror to me, but it's one of the best survival games ever. If you haven't played Subnautica, please do so immediately. It's an absolutely incredible game. And so they finally announced Subnautica 2, and I was super excited. And then they said it's going to be a multiplayer game. The thing that made Subnautica work was the solitude, the isolation, being alone. Now, I'm not saying that I won't give this a chance. I'm just saying that really, really deflated me. Because I think that's what made the game just amazing, was that you were absolutely alone. You were just kind of trying to survive on everything that was around you. And now it's going to be a multiplayer game that just, I don't know, it kind of takes it just takes some of the ambiance away from the game, I feel like. So, I mean, obviously I'll wait and see for the final results, but as someone who's been waiting for them to announce this game for like 5 years now, that really took the wind out of my sails. And I hope they change it. Hope they get some feedback and they change their mind on it. I don't know. I doubt they will. You know, they'll pretty sure they probably don't watch this program, but not thrilled about that. But guys, that was my week. It's really rough when you're having some home renovations done, guys, because you're you know, you don't have a kitchen. You don't have access to like a third of your house because everything that was in your kitchen's in another room. So we're like camped out in the living room right now, and it's just our space just gets smaller and smaller. It's just, it really is trying. You just keep telling yourself, guys, it will be worth it. But yeah, a setback today was not one that I had actually accounted for. So we got to make the best with the cards that we are dealt, correct? So guys, drop in the comments. Let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you're playing. I hope you actually made it through this video. Hopefully it turns out okay. Hopefully I remember to press record and all that stuff here with the phone, because I turn into my mother trying to learn how to program a TiVo for the first time whenever I try to record from my iPhone. So drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you are up to, and have yourselves an awesome and safe weekend. No drinking and driving if you're going somewhere to watch the Super Bowl. I want to talk to you in the comments below, so hit me there, and I'll talk to you then.